This is Unexpected with Hannah Love. In this podcast, you will gain a new perspective of how God loves you enough to call you to things that you couldn't have imagined for yourself. Okay, we have Livy on the mic back here. So you can ask questions.
Yes.
Because you have some good ones.
Okay. The difference, give us some of the differences, the emotions you went through from having your first baby, so no littles running around, to then being pregnant either round 2 with 1 little, round 3 with 2 littles, now round 4 with 3 littles. What's that difference?
Okay. I see reels all the time. My whole algorithm is just like either homesteading or like motherhood and breastfeeding right now. The fact is, they tell you to like, nap when you can, rest when you can, and that's all good and well. You can do that your first pregnancy, depending on like your job and your hours, but that is just a joke when you have other kids. It's like, seriously, you think like there's laundry and there's dishes and there's a toddler and there are like 10,000 things that I need to be doing right now. I can't just like lay my pregnant body down and just rest it because that's laughable. And it just multiplies when you have kids and like more kids. And we have 4 now. So thank goodness, like I said, we have had help for the last few years. So Shay really took one for the team in the last trimester because it was really, really hard on my body, this last baby. A, because I'm older. B, because it's my 4th, and by your 4th, your body just fully goes into pregnancy mode. Like it knows what to expect. Did you know your hips widen? Your joints loosen? Your body releases more of this certain relaxing hormone that relaxes the joints in your body. And so your body literally, like your hips just like widen out because they've loose. Your joints are loose just to accommodate like the growing belly. So I feel like my hips got wide and my belly got big and my body's like, we've done this 3 other times, so let's do it. And
We're ready.
And we did it, and it was fast and furious. And I was really tired. There's so many stats on it. The one stat I see all the time is pregnancy pushes the woman's body to like the max endurance, and it's as if you're running like a 5K marathon basically every day, like every day of the pregnancy. Your blood volume doubles, the volume of liquids in your body doubles. So your mucus, you actually have like a lot more sinus and drainage and like drippage, and you have twice the amount of blood in your body. And so what that means is that like if you are a walker, if you like to work out, if you like to do all these things, your heart is working twice as hard to pump twice the amount of blood, and then you're carrying more weight. So the physical that it takes out of your body to be pregnant is like pretty incredible. It like truly pushes you to the edge of like of human capacity. So it's a feat, and I think that not enough credit is given to women that like have babies and are willing to do it again. But I like to say that that's God's little like, God makes you black everything out. He gives you all these like rush of hormones when you have the baby, and it's like what's it called? Oxytocin, and you're just like drowned in it when you see the baby, and you're like, everything is perfect and beautiful. Even though you're like, your body's wrecked and you're in pain and your nipples are about to start bleeding from breastfeeding. And for me, I was like also sliced open, like 7 layers of my body were cut open. And
You're really selling it.
yeah, I'm really selling it. But it doesn't even matter because you're just like overcome with like, the joy hormone from this baby. And I just think that is God's handiwork to be like, isn't it amazing? And it is. And you're immediately like, let's do it again. I'm not even kidding. You just black it all out. I told every pregnancy I've told Shay in the first trimester, I can't do this again. And then after I have the baby, I'm like, look how perfect they are.
You're like, one more time.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, 5 things about pregnancy.
Or post.
Yeah, I would say like more, yeah, because like motherhood is like a little bit deeper in,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely like the pre, post, during. What are those 5 things you're like, no one told me this?
Yes.
The things that you went and read, Googled down the forum for.
Okay. Well, these are mostly post, and they blew my mind. Did you know that even if you have a C-section, you will bleed after you have a baby? And by bleed, I mean like vaginally. Like you wear a diaper, an adult diaper. You either wear Depends or like the mesh panties they give you from the hospital with like a giant pad in it. And I'm not kidding. For Asher, I bled for 6 weeks. I was shocked out of my mind because I was like, no one told me this. I didn't even have a vaginal delivery. Okay. I was cut open and had a C-section, and yet no one told me that you bleed after you have a baby, and you bleed for weeks. And then after you bleed, you're just waiting for your period to come in. Okay? So there's number 1. No one told me. Number 2 that no one told me, and this is a wives' tale. They say if you breastfeed that you can't get pregnant because typically you will not start your period until you stop breastfeeding. So the old wives' tale is that you don't get pregnant if you're still breastfeeding, and it is like such a misconception. People get pregnant all the time, and to be honest,
A misconception about conception.
yes, exactly. Your body is like begging to like go back into pregnancy mode, and you won't even. Sometimes you don't even know. Like you could get pregnant and not know because you never started your period. Right? So it's a little bit terrifying. I don't want to scare anyone, but you need to know the facts. Don't go breastfeeding thinking that like you can just
Free will it.
yeah, just you can't. Be careful cuz you could end up with Irish twins. So that was 2. And I love Irish twins for other people, but I don't think I'd survive it. That was 2, right?
Yep.
Third one, I knew nothing about breastfeeding. I knew nothing about milk coming in, knew none of that. Okay? So when your milk does come in, no one tells you that so many things can trigger your milk letdown. So, for example, I have multiple kids now. I have a 2-year-old who cries. Anytime I hear any of my kids crying, doesn't even matter if it's a big one, any of my children cry, milk letdown. If I smell any of my kids, literally, if I pick up the baby right now and smell him, my milk will let down. I could be in a store without my kids shopping, and I could hear a baby cry somewhere in the store, and my milk would let down. And this is all just insane.
My mind
stuff.
is blown.
Is your mind blown right now?
Yes, I didn't know this at all.
Okay. Did you know? Also, this isn't one of the things, but I'm just, since we're on breastfeeding, did you know that your milk changes according to the needs of your baby? So if there's sickness in the house, so every time we've had a baby, someone brings home a sickness or a bug, my milk will produce the antibody for whatever virus or sickness that is and give it directly to the baby. Is that not wild?
It's crazy.
I've had it before where the big boys all have fevers, and then my milk will turn like bright yellow. And I Googled it. I remember Googling it. And it was because my milk had produced all these antibodies to fight the virus going around that the big boys had, so the baby didn't get it. And the baby didn't get it.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that wild that God made the human body to do that? If you're nursing, this is wild to me. I've never nursed this long, but if you're nursing a toddler and also a baby, your milk will change depending on who's nursing.
That is insane.
So your milk will like be totally different for the toddler than it will be for the baby. And the way your body distinguishes is because the saliva of the baby like tells your body what it needs. Also, the mother's instinct to kiss her baby's face, when you do that, it's like a biological thing where you are picking up the microbiome on their face and it's computing to your body what your baby needs, and your breast milk's like, done. Say no more.
We got this.
I mean, all of this is just mind-blowing to me.
I didn't know, like, most of this.
It's mind-blowing that people think that, like, all like the Big Bang Theory, or
I was just about to say that.
that life is by chance and that everything just happened to line up. Are you kidding?
It's a lot.
It's an intelligent design. Like, all of it. Nothing is by happenstance. Like, it doesn't just.
No what do you always say?
Oh, I don't believe in coincidence. No, it's not just a big coincidence. Like, God absolutely, like, intelligently orchestrated how all of this worked. And honestly, having a baby and, like, learning more and more about how, like, God made it to work, you can't deny him. It's it's like so miraculous. So
it's also like,
go on and have your baby and see your miracles.
Right. Everyone, tell us your miracles and tell us what you're learning in this episode in the comments.
Yes. I've totally gone off track.
Okay,
was that 3 or 4?
We were talking about breastfeeding was 3.
Yes.
Number 4, something that no one talks about. You're like, what?
Okay.
You kind of gave like 8.
Yeah, I kind of gave a lot there, but I went into like teacher mode. I could do a whole product review. Did you know for Asher, I didn't know. Now, this was probably well before Amazon was super popular, and I didn't use Amazon at the time because this was almost, this was like 8-9 years ago. But I didn't know that nursing bras were a thing, which y'all know that I posted a reel about like baby things and baby products. And I did a whole thing on nursing bras. I didn't know it was a thing, Livy. So you know what I did?
No. What'd you do?
Because what happens is if you don't have a nursing bra, which is a bra that just holds your pumping gear in place, then you're literally just holding your pumps while you pump.
That's a lot of work.
It's so much work. Like, you can't even like hold your phone. You're just like holding.
And it takes,
I would just
how
do
long
this.
Does it take?
Takes 30 minutes until you just
total.
Yeah, my back was broken because I just spent the whole time like this with Asher trying to hold my pump. So I took sports bras and would cut out the center and like stick the cups in there.
Ingenuity.
And I had a girlfriend came over once. I didn't know her well, and she was like, "Oh no." She's like, "I'm going to Amazon you a nursing bra." And I was like, "What?" But I was also deep in postpartum in a fog, and I'm just like survival mode, getting, 4 hours of sleep every night. So this was just novel to me.
You're like, I'm going to fix this on my own.
Yes. So anyway, that was when I learned about nursing bras, and they've come a long way. They have come a long way.
Okay, on that point, asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen in some forums like women having a hard time asking for help, whether it's their husband or friends or family.
Yes.
What was your experience? I feel like you're very
I don't ask for help.
You're very independent.
Yes. I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, which means that I don't need anything. That's like my weakness, is I just like will not ask for help. One of the most helpful things I have found, if you have the community, if you have the people, last baby with Abram, my girlfriend set up a meal train, and that, like, wow, that was life-giving. It was nutritious food. They would just ask you what your favorite places were, just send it to your door, and every few days you'd have a new meal show up. So it's not just feeding me, because nutrition is really important when you're breastfeeding. The meal train was great. It fed my kids, my husband, and also myself, took some stress off, because I was like, I'm a lousy mom. I'm not cooking dinner for my kids because I don't feel like it. And that took that. And it also helped me because it fed me. So that was really nice.
Okay.
If someone offers a meal train, just say yes. Just say thank you. Even if they bring you something you don't like, it's so kind and it's so nice and thoughtful that they would do that.
As a friend,
yes,
how can you
help?
Yeah, how can you support your friends that are either like in pregnancy or like new mom, or
just be there.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if you don't have a clue, even if you don't get it, even if she's sitting here crying, even if like she's showing you her cracked nipples and you like have no words because you're like shocked but also like feel horrible for her, just be there. Just be like, I'm with you. I know that I can't be in the pain with you, but I'm like here with you. What can I do for you? Can I go pick you up anything? Can I bring you ice? Honestly, Ice water is like way more of a big deal than you think it's going to be when you're breastfeeding, because let me just pull this up here. My hospital cup, because it's my fourth baby, I bought like 3 of these jugs off Amazon because my kids love them. I brought one home from the hospital last time, and it was commandeered immediately. Like, my kids were like, "This is mine now. This is my cup." And I love that cup because when you're breastfeeding, you feel like you've been walking through the desert for like 10 years with not a drop of water. I'm not kidding. No one told me that. We can put that on the list.
So maybe an ice machine.
No one told me. Yes, I actually have a baby shower to go to next week, and I was like, I wonder if she has an ice machine, because you can get one at Costco that's like that's what we have. It's the Costco one. It's sitting on the counter. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and my kids love it. And also, I get to have my hospital cup with, the Sonic ice.
Endless amounts of ice.
Endless amounts of ice.
Also, you can buy Chick-fil-A, and I think Sonic, you can buy those bagged ice if you don't have the machine.
Yes.
Apparently.
But when you're breastfeeding and you're that thirsty, ice water hits different, man. I'm telling you, I could get like one round of nursing and I would gulp this whole thing down in like 4 minutes.
So you never feel really hydrated.
You never feel hydrated, which I love water, and it's the only thing I drink apart from like
coffee.
Maybe a cup of like coffee, or like when I'm pregnant, I drink milk. I'm not a big milk drinker, but nursing and pregnant, I drink milk for the baby. Apart from that, though, like, this is it. Go get you an Amazon. I mean, some people do Stanley's, but they're real tall. My kids would steal those too, so it's just cheaper to do a fat-bottomed,
they're kind of also
hospital-grade cup.
Yeah, Stanley's could be a weapon. They're a little heavy,
nice and hefty too.
Yes, and I like that it's clear. You can see kind of what's going on.
You can see how much you're drinking,
which is kind of
motivating.
A game.
It is. It's
like,
a mental game.
You could do like by noon, whatever. We love a game like that.
Okay, but before it slips my mind,
brain.
Okay, two more things that no one tells you, and you don't know until you're a mom, and then you're like, oh, duh. Pregnancy brain's a thing. I didn't know about that until my first pregnancy, and I'm like, why can't I remember words? Why am I so forgetful? I would just listen. I have run red lights before, just because my brain was just like, see ya. So apparently, mom brain is a real thing. There are scientific articles on it. Shay thought that I was joking for the longest time. He was like, you're making this up. I'm not. Your brain actually shrinks in pregnancy. Basically, my joke is that like your baby takes it all, which is true. However, after you have the baby, your brain rewires itself. So technically, it's like a computer that's like upping its programming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like the new update.
It's like a new update, and it's like rewiring your brain for like things that you're going to need now. And it just like cleaned out the trash, but also like took things for the baby. So wild.
Another wild one.
But like pregnancy brain is a real thing. And I had to explain to Asher this go around, because he'd be like, don't you remember, mommy? And I told him about it. And so my whole pregnancy, he was like, looking at Shay, and he's like, mommy doesn't remember because remember her pregnancy brain. And I was like, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Right.
Okay, and then my last, I don't want to call it like a myth buster, but kind of, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings here. They tell you that breastfeeding will make you like lose all your baby weight so fast. What they don't tell you is that when you're breastfeeding, you're ravenous. They tell you like
that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense, but they tell you need to consume 500 to 700 extra calories while you're breastfeeding. But that doesn't mean, it's the same with pregnancy. That doesn't mean you just like can eat an extra like slice of cake. It means like nutritious food. Yeah. You need extra nutrition, but you're ravenous. You're never not hungry. You're always thirsty when you nurse. And so you don't lose the weight. I will not lose my baby weight, all of it, until I'm done breastfeeding. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of the moms that I know. So sorry if anyone's like, I'll just breastfeed and get so skinny.
I've learned so much in this last 45 minutes.
Yes. But do breastfeed. It's the best thing you can do for your baby. It will support their immune Like, it's really hard. They don't tell you how hard it is. I did not have a lactation consultant my first 2, and after Abram, I had a really good lactation consultant in the hospital. She was incredible. She taught me so much. It's why I know a lot. It's just so worth it because you will build the foundation to their immune system for the rest of their life. So their health will directly be affected by whether you breastfed or not. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. If you can't, I totally get it because my first 2 were formula babies. Fed baby is best, right? Like I'm not
No, that's good. I
I've
was
done
wanting you to
both.
talk
I
on
don't
that.
want to put pressure on women, but if you have the chance or the opportunity and you can, do everything in your power to breastfeed that baby because go look up the benefits. This is what I did mentally to get myself to breastfeed for longer. I would be like, what are the benefits? I would Google, what are the benefits of breastfeeding for 1 month? And then I'd be like, I think I can make it 2 months. And then it would be like, what are the benefits of 2 months of breastfeeding? And it went on down to the point where I was like, if I can just get to 6 months, then I will have set up his whole, like, it will, the stats of all the diseases and all of the everything that they could get for their whole adult life are like sliced by significant amounts if you can breastfeed.
Also, it's cheaper.
Also, it's cheaper, but then factor in like you're eating more. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's true. Also, if it makes you feel better, pump that way. So I'm an advocate of pumping. That way, you know how much milk your baby's getting. I always am paranoid. I've heard stories when I was pregnant or when I had Asher. There were stories of women that were pressured to breastfeed and then their baby starved to death because they didn't know they weren't getting anything every time they were nursing.
Oh my gosh, that's
It's
so
so
sad.
heartbreaking. So
They're just trying their best.
they're just trying their best. But you will know if your baby's eating because they will gain weight. The pediatrician will tell you that they want to see X amount gained. But I like to pump simply because you see how many ounces you're getting, you see how many ounces your baby is taking, and you're getting like the wet and the dirty diapers. And also, I like it because other people can feed the baby.
That's a great point.
So that's helpful that you're not always the one that's responsible for feeding the baby. Technically, you are because you made the milk, but like at least someone else can do it if you're in a pinch. Because to be honest, once you've made the milk, you're like, now I'm going to feed the baby because I did all this work. Don't even think about feeding the baby.
I earned this. I worked hard for this.
Yes. Also, the saying, don't cry over spilled milk, I totally get it now. I have spilt breast milk before, and I was like,
Okay, that makes more sense of where that saying comes from.
I don't know if that's where it comes from, but
It would make
in
more
my
sense that
mind,
way.
in my breastfeeding mind, that's where it comes from.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
I would cry over that too.
There's a
I
whole
don't even
other
relate
like
yet, but I would cry over that.
there's a whole other like realm that we could jump into with like you can get really in your head about breastfeeding and like how you don't make, I think probably all moms across the board feel like they don't make enough milk. And then you're going to get on Instagram and your algorithm is going to be on breastfeeding and how much, and you know what they're all going to see? This is what I see is the overproducer moms. That's great for them, but they have like milk gallon jugs of milk and they're like, this is what I made in the last 3 days. And it's literally like 2 gallons of milk. And I'm like, I made 6 ounces, like
Oh, that would be really sad.
it's
If you're in
really,
the thick of it.
when you're in the thick of it, listen, don't take the bait. It's
Scroll away.
Just scroll away. Those are overproducers, and
They probably come with their own things.
Definitely
They're going through stuff too.
They are, but don't be discouraged if you feel like you don't make much milk because I think it's pretty normal. Actually, right now he's almost 3 weeks old, and I make like 2 ounces at a time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but right now he only eats 2 or 3 ounces at a time.
He's efficient.
So your body should be making enough, like just what the baby needs.
Again, back to God's design.
God's design.
So
like nutritionally, it should have everything that they need and like the amount that they need. You have come in here with a really good question.
I feel like I came in here today and I was like, okay, I'm turning 30. I want to have a kid eventually. I'm scared. And I love that this is going to turn into this. I see, at least from friends, people on the internet talking about not feeling like themselves.
Yes.
What's your experience with that?
Okay.
And what are your words of encouragement for women that maybe are struggling with that feeling?
Okay. I love this question because you will not meet a mom ever that doesn't feel this at some point after having a child. My go to answer for this is physically, I start feeling more myself after a year. Okay. A year post baby. And that just means that like I've fully recovered from C-section. I can do all the workout stuff that I used to do. Body probably doesn't look the same, but it's like getting there. I'm back into my clothes. Life is starting to come back again. Like you're getting your feet under you because you've kept your baby alive for a year and you're kind of out of that stage of like just a fog of no sleep and like getting the hang of things. So, a year, right? And that physically. Then I would say that hormonally, mentally, life wise, like your life is adjusting to having a child or a new baby, like a sibling, like your family life feels like it balances out. Everything feels like it's coming together at 2 years for me. Like, and I've talked to a lot of moms and they're like, yep, 2 years, like 2 years, and you're like ready for another baby. And to be fair, like that's what it's been. That's why all the first three are 3 years apart, because once they turn two, you're like, I think I could do this again. My teller, my teller has always been when it starts to feel easy, you're like, okay, it might be time for another baby. Because people were like, how do you know when? There's no right or wrong answer to that. But for me, it was when life was starting to feel pretty easy, and I'm like, oh, we got this whole thing with 2 kids. I think we could do a third. When you're feeling that, it's probably go time, and you don't know how long it's going to take to conceive, right? So it's just, but for me, physically a year, life wise, mentally, family life, balanced life, 2 years. Two. Now I will say I know people that it's less, and I know people that were like, I don't want to have any more kids. And that is going to be for, every individual person. But I've talked to, again, so many moms. So many of them are like, man, I'm finally starting to feel like myself. And it's always the year mark physically. And it's usually the 2 year mark where they're like, we got the hang of this whole thing with kids and like laugh. So that can be intimidating. And I know a lot of women are like, I don't feel like myself. I never feel like myself when I'm pregnant. I feel like someone else is taking over my body a little bit. And it is my privilege to like carry that life and do as much as I can to support it, because that is like, that's God gave women that privilege, right?
Yeah.
Men can't do that. So it's pretty special. It's incredibly hard. It's the most fulfilling work you'll ever do. And to be very honest with you, it's a short season. Like I can look back at my life and be like, at 25, right before I turned 26, I had a baby. I just turned 34. So in 9 years' time, that might have been our last baby. And so I'm like 9 years out of my whole life. Say I live to be 90. It's a very, very, very small fraction of my life spent in the pregnant and postpartum years. It is a fraction. And when you look at it like that, I think it's more manageable. It's like, eating a whale one bite at a time, or whatever that saying is. So it can be discouraging. It can feel overwhelming to feel like you've lost yourself. For me personally, and I've written about this, I have posts about this, I have writings about this. I think I have an episode about this, purpose. It's one of the first episodes on Hannah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women will actually find more purpose and more fulfillment in the role of motherhood. I'm not saying that needs to be your whole identity. That's two separate things. Purpose and identity are different, and I have an episode on that. However, I think that there is such a sense of fulfillment because it's part of God's design for us to have life, to carry life, to
It's a
sustain life.
privilege.
It's a privilege. It's an honor. Again, one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But it takes you from being a selfish person. And look, I wouldn't call all of my single friends selfish. I wouldn't. But when you have a child, all of a sudden, all the selfishness about you goes out the window because it's not about you anymore. It's about someone else. And all of a sudden, when you have a child, you see with the eyes of God what a parent's love is for their blood,
Like how
for
God
their
loves
child.
us.
You all of a sudden see, you can read it until you're blue in the face. You can read the Bible cover to cover. You can say, I'm a child of God, and God loves us because we're his children. But until you have a child and you know that love personally, it will rock your relationship with God in the best way, because all of a sudden you're seeing things and you're like, oh, this is how you see me, God. It is life-changing in the sense of purpose, fulfillment, identity, and knowing fully how God sees and loves us. So, man, it's a roller coaster. You feel terrible a lot of times first trimester. You feel great the second trimester. Third trimester, you're like, get this baby out of me. I can't sleep. I'm a whale. I'm a rotisserie chicken tossing at night in my bed. Seriously, that was me. And then the baby comes and you're just engulfed in love and overwhelm and sometimes pain and sometimes fear of what your nights and days are going to look like moving forward. And then you just figure it out. And it is a part of this big old thing called life. And it's a part of God's plan and his purpose for us. And you can't tell me that the family unit is not God's ultimate picture of Christ and the bride of Christ, the church that is us, because he's coming back to wed us one day. And so learning to live and love as a family and bringing a child into the world and knowing that love and recognizing the Father's love for us, it's all a part of, I think, God's plan for us and how it should be, and how he made it to be, even though the world is really trying to tell us a lot of different things about it. Men can't have kids. They can't carry children. It's all these things. My kids have asked these questions, and I'm like, can you come on the podcast? Because I need to explain.
We should do that. That'd be fun.
Asher was like, I'm so scared. I don't ever want to have a baby because I don't want to be cut open, and that looks like it hurts. And I'm like, buddy,
you're going to be good.
You're okay because you're a boy, and women have uteruses, and boys don't have that. And I mean, this is when he was 6. So I'm like, it's pretty simple.
He's a big thinker.
You're good. He is a big thinker. He's very philosophical, but also scientific.
Thank you so much for listening today. If this episode has encouraged you, please feel free to share the show with your family and friends. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world today, and my hope is that this show is a candle in the dark.